Hi! Today I'm going to show you a fun little card. I'm going to use several different things, but if you follow me on Facebook, you know this week my product of the week is the Wishing You Well stamp set out of the holiday catalog from Stampin Up. It's this one. And today, if you are watching this on YouTube the day that I posted this, later today at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live. And I'm going to kind of use the you can make it things. I'm also going to show a little bit of today's card, some elements of it on my Facebook Live, just because I'm going to use the Stamaparatus. So if you're watching this before I do that, or if you catch the replay and you have any questions about today's card, you can go over to Facebook and find my Facebook Live on Sherry's Cards. And that way, if you have questions about this card, you can put them on there, because I'm going to show a little bit of it. But this is the stamp set, and you can see it's kind of a fallish. I love it. Is my charging cord in my video? Oh, I guess not. It's got the wreath, and it's got some, I think this is like wheat. It's got a season's greetings, so it's kind of a year-round kind of stamp set. I'm going to make a Christmas card with it today, and I am going to use the Stamparatus. Let me show you a couple of other things from the holiday catalog that I'm going to pull into it. On page 5. If I could look at my numbers, that's page 6. That's why I don't see what I'm using. Again, I've used this stamp set a bunch, finally using it in a Christmas way. This is the Merry Christmas to All bundle, and I am going to use the bundle aspect of it today because I'm going to use one of the stamps and I'm going to use the die. So I'm going to use that today. And then on page 38 of the holiday catalog, I'm going to use one of my favorite things. And who knew, when you know, sometimes when you order like this Wishing You Well, I knew that was going to be one of my favorites. First scroll through the catalog and I knew it. But I'm going to use the Buffalo Check. Did not know that was going to be one of my favorites. I should have known. Last year we had some designer series paper that was black and white check and green and white check. Or green and black, I think. Loved, loved, loved that. And I used a ton of it, sold a ton of it. We loved that. Loved the lumberjack look you could get with it. In fact, I still have a Pinterest board that's full of it. Also going to use some of the shimmer paint. Love the shimmer paint. Love that. So I'm going to use a little bit of that. And then on page 30, I'm going to use the Take Your Pick tool. It was my weekend special last week, and it's going to be my weekend special again. So if you spend $100 from Thursday to Sunday on my website, you spend $100, then you can get one of these for free. And they are fabulous. And I'm going to show you just another thing that I discovered that you could do with it today, partly because I'm lazy, and partly because I needed it, but another way you can use it. But I am going to use that again today. So we're going to use the Stamparatus, and if in October, I'm going to do a giveaway for a Stamparatus. So if you don't have one yet, you can buy one if you don't want to wait, because they're super, super convenient. Or, you know, if you want to put one on your Christmas list for, you know, your kids or your husband or somebody who buys for you to get it. For this card, it makes it so nice to have it. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I like to use my ink spots. These are the uninked ink spots. And I'm going to just show you those real quick in case you haven't seen them. So they just come uninked. They're just an empty stamp pad, so there's nothing in them. You might think this is ink, but it's not. I did beads yesterday in my Instant Pot. So I have some bead stain here because I don't have gloves. I use some baggies on my hand, and my 4-year-old nephew was helping me do beads. So I was really kind of trying to save my countertop from my 4-year-old nephew. But he ate some. I could tell he didn't like them because of the face, but he's so brave. So, whoops. So they're just dry. So I just did not have a mint macaron ink spot, so I just took this, and you just fill it up. Actually, I filled too much because it's hard to know how much. So if you were going to use it with this stamp set, go less is more and then just add more, because I added too much, because this is a distinctive stamp set, and the distinctive stamp sets have dimension to them, and because I put too much in it, then I had to sit there and like drain some out. And you're going to see what I mean by the distinctive. So that's that. My nephew was here yesterday. We made lots of big shot things. We cut lots of shapes. We did lots of stamping. We did beats. We did all kinds of, 4-year-old boy activities. Maybe not all 4-year-old boys, but my 4-year-old boys. So here is the Stamparatus. I have to move some of this stuff out of the way. It makes my stamp space be different, so I have to kind of move. So I have, this is just a 1/4 sheet of cardstock. And because these are photopolymer, you don't really need the magnets. So I've got one of the magnets here, but I didn't use it on my sample card. So I think I'm good. And then this is the stamp that comes out of the set. And all I'm going to use is the bow out of it. And then I'm going to use all these different colors. And I messed around a little bit with how to best get the ink on it. Partly because the first one I used was my over-inked macaron, and it had too much ink in it. So what I found, I know I've seen people have had trouble like getting some dotty effects on their bow. So I found with these, I haven't had any problem at all when I just stamp straight onto my ink pads getting the dotty effect, because you don't want a lot of ink. And I do have a couple of other videos on YouTube. So I found if you kind of just barely touch, especially these ones that have a lot of ink, the less ink they have, the better they actually work on the ink spots. And then on this, I'm just going to lay it and like barely touch it. And then you can see I didn't touch it there. Great thing with the Stamparatus, and I didn't ink it because I'm talking. But if you don't get it, that's what the Stamparatus is designed for. You just go back and get it till you do. Still not getting any ink on that corner one. Need to pay attention to what I'm doing sometimes and not just talk. There we go. And then, because I'm going to, if you were making your Christmas cards, I cut this wider than what I need. So I'm going to ink it up again over here. Just swirl that on there. And the distinctive stamps have like layerings of rubber, so they come out different layers. I'm just going to swap that around over here, and I can make 2 cards at once with my Stamparatus. And I've got a little bit of the dots that I'm talking about, and it's because this stamp has too much ink on it. Then to clean this, I've seen people use wet wipes. I don't like the wet wipes because they leave fuzz. So I've got water in my Stampin' Mist, and then just my chamois, and then I've got, this is our silicone matte, and I'm just going to leave it on my table because my table is painted, and it's an old work table, and I do have a blog post coming at some point when I have time. I found old pictures. I get so many questions about my table, but I've just got my chamois wet, and I'm going to use the little wet part and then move to a drier part and dry it off. But then you don't have any lint. You don't have wet wipes make your stamp stay wet forever. You don't want your stamp to be wet. Done with the mint. Move that out of the way. And then the great thing about our Stamparatus is I'm going to move that down 1 peg. And then I've got Flirty Flamingo. This is the driest of mine, so I can press a little harder. Again, just swirl that on there. Barely press. And that one's perfect because that is the exact right amount of ink that you want in one of these. If all of my ink spots were this inked, that would be perfect. Kind of swirl it on there. And then it's barely pressing. And you can see the difference. I'm just going to show you between my over-inked mint macaron, and I've tried to drain some out, but you know, it is what it is. And then I did even let it sit here this morning with the lid off, hoping that would help. But the perfectly inked Flirty Flamingo. So again, if you are going to ink your ink spots, less is more. My friends will laugh that are watching this because I'm not a less is more anything in stamping. And sometimes it comes back to bite you. So just get the wet part of your chamois and then a drier part. And that cleans it right up. And then I'm going to move this down. I made this, I'm making the card to look kind of retro colors. I collect a lot of vintage Christmas ornaments, and so I went kind of with those colors. This is real red. Press. And again, that one's more perfect. My red was kind of too inky when I started, but because I've done a couple of, I've used this spot a couple of times to ink up the buffalo check. And so that's dried it up a tiny bit. And you can see I am not pressing hard. If you press too hard on a distinctive stamp, then you defeat the purpose and you make it all be the same. You want just a light press so you get those layers of coloring. Take the wet part of my chamois. And you don't want it too wet because you don't want your hands and everything to get wet. A dry part, you can see how many times I've done bows all over this. And I know it looks like your chamois is dirty, but it doesn't transfer the color over. Okay, and then I've got Melon Mambo. And again, it's a little wetter. My red and my flamingo are my driest of my stamps. So this one I need a little lighter touch. Just kind of swirl it on there. Close the door, barely touch. And when you miss a part, you can just go back and get it. I don't have enough ink on that, so I'll get a little bit more on the bows. There we go. Flip it over, and again, you can see that if you were making your Christmas cards, you could get two at once. And if you were doing a stamp that wasn't distinctive, then you wouldn't take this long to have to ink it so carefully. So you would be able to stamp your 2 cards super fast. That's the beauty of the Stamparatus, and everything's perfectly placed. And like the times that I'm missing where I'm stamping, you just go back and fix it. You can show this one's a little bit more clean because I'm going to go back to Pool Party from a pink. So I don't want there to be any pink on it at all. When I was going from the shades of red, if there was a tiny bit left, it didn't really matter. Move that down. These that have the lids on them are the traditional Stampin' Up lids. These are all from Paper Pumpkin. So if you're a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, then you get ink spots most months. Sometimes you even get 2. Occasionally, maybe once a year, you don't get an ink spot. Oh, and I was talking and I think I got a little bit much. Let me take a little bit of that off. But most months you get an ink spot. So I just keep all the ink spots that I get, and they're perfect then for my Stamparatus. A tiny bit more. And this is Pool Party. I don't know if I said that. Switch this one over here. My Pool Party's pretty wet too. I think you can kind of tell with my ink spots the colors that I use more than others by how dry and wet they were. When they're wetter, then it leaves the lines on them. So there we go. Now we have 2. I'm going to cut that down the middle so I have the center of 2 cards. Get that cleaned up. And then this is all clean. I'm just going to take this door off. And then I'm done with all of these except for my red. And then I've got my buffalo check on here. And it's already been inked once. I didn't want to clean it off because I was going to re-ink it with red again, so there's no reason to clean it off. And then I've lined it up. The paper that I need is, the stamp is bigger than the paper that you need. Move it back into where you can see it. So it is going to get some on my plate. And again, I don't need the magnet because if you've had issues with your paper like lifting up, that usually happens with your photopolymer stamps. It doesn't happen so much with the rubber stamps. The paper tends to stay. So the first time that you are going to ink the buffalo check, I'm going to swirl it on everything. And the first go around, I'm going to swirl everything. And I have maybe 4 videos now on YouTube using this stamp set, so there's several. I think I was one of the first people to turn it into a plaid with markers. I know there's more of them on there now, but I did that when we first got it, when it first came out. And then I made a happy birthday card with this Merry Christmas to All. I just pulled out the happy and used the birthday with this set. So I'm going to show you, when I made the card, I just used it. I didn't use the magnet, I just used it and it didn't move. But you know, because I'm filming, it now makes me a little nervous. But because I say that, it will move. So I'm going to show you a little tip that you can use, especially on a card like this, because I know that I'm going to cover the center of my card, so it doesn't matter if there's a little bump in it. So I'm going to take a glue dot and my take your pick tool and my bead hand. It looks so bad. My nephew was like, it won't stain, it won't stain. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna stain, dude. And the only thing that got stained was me trying to keep him not stained. So I'm going to stick the glue dot right here in the middle. So if you wanted a perfect image in the middle, you wouldn't want to do that because it's going to make the middle not stamp perfect. But my middle is going to be covered up by the bows that I just stamped. So that's fine for this. And then I know that I want to line it up from the other cards that I've done, like close to the U and this line over here. I'm going to stick the glue dot there and that will hold it in place. See, it's made a dot, but that won't matter because my card is. And then just make sure, yeah. And take the magnet out. And I'm going to stand up because you get a better press on this if you can stand up. I'm going to ink it a couple of different times, but I'm going to show you a tip. Lift that up, and you can see I missed that whole place right there. So just press back. Now I have it. Okay, now you can see on rustic cards, it wouldn't bother me. Like if I was doing a pumpkin card or, you know, one of the country looking cards, it wouldn't bother me that some of these are not stamped well, the squares. But on this, I'm going for a 50s look. So I want them to be more filled in, the squares. But I don't want to keep stamping over the lines because I found if you ink the whole thing, every time you stamp the lines, they just get fatter. And I don't want my lines to get fatter. So I'm going to go back with my ink spot and just try to ink up the squares. Like the full squares, the solid ones. And try to avoid, as much as I can, you're going to get a little bit, but try to avoid the ones that are the diagonal lines. And the nice thing is this card is going to, or this panel is going to get trimmed because I don't need that full size. This is a quarter sheet of cardstock, and it's going to be a panel mounted on the top of a card. So once it's all stamped, I will be able to like trim off if there's a bad section, one that doesn't stamp as well. I'll be able to trim that part off. So I'm just inking up just the solid squares. And I'm standing up, so the way the light's hitting this is a little bit harder to see than if I sat back down. but I think I'm getting them all. And the nice thing is with the Stamparatus is you can stamp over and over on the same place because your stuff doesn't move. So we'll try this. I kept one to show you one of my mess ups because this card did go through a couple of different design flaws and a few different ways before I finally figured out how best. I tried the markers on the bows. That does not work, so don't try the markers. That looks horrible, so don't do that. I tried using the stamp pads once I realized that my ink pads were all kind of different, inked differently. And the stamp pads were a little bit better, but I just don't like using the stamp pads much with the Stamparatus. So then I tried using my Mint Macaron one, even especially after I inked my ink spot too much. And then I tried this a couple of different ways. And so then I still have it somewhere. I could show you. I tried it, I made this, and when I re-inked it on the lines, and I was going to keep it to show you. But then I wanted to spray the shimmer on it, and I sprayed too much in one spot, and it all bled. So, sometimes you can take it from me. And here's another thing that you can use your take your pick thing. Back when we had the fabric pads, we have foam now, and the fabric pads do this, especially when I rub it on here. So now we've got a little bit of that on there. So you can pick that up. I'm going to just wipe that over on my chamois. So this is pretty good. I could do it one more time. I'm not going to, just because you guys don't want to watch me do it again. But I could go back and figure out which of these squares need a little bit more of the red. You could also just take a blend. Like I have a real red blend, and I could just fill that in. So if you want all of your squares to be super solid, you could do that. But because I am going to put the shimmer on, I found it did bleed a tiny bit, but it also filled the lines back in, which was nice after the time that I did it and I did too much. When I did too much, it bled all over the place. But that one was kind of inked heavy because I had inked all of the lines. So that one had a lot of ink on it anyways. Get this glue dot off of here. This one didn't really go over too much onto my plate. But to get that off your plate, because you don't want to leave that on your plate because you don't want your plate to be stained, you just grab a tissue, which is over on my shelf. And then this is the water that I use for my chamois. Just squirt a little bit of water. Again, I'm not a big fan of the baby wipes. And then you just wipe off everywhere where the ink got with just some water and a tissue. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for bead stains. And then because this still has red, and I'm going to keep it because I'm going to make another one, and it's like it's primed with red ink, and so it doesn't take as much ink to put it on there. So that's the Stamparatus, and if you don't have one, watch for October because I will be giving one away. October starts our new Stampin' Up! Business year, and so I'm going to kick it off with a bang. Okay, and this is our paper cutter. You don't see me use it very often on videos, but I need to because I need to trim these down. And as I was doing it, you may have seen my videos over the summer. I made a couple of cupcake holders, and when we made them at camp, people had adhesive on it. And so they put their papers in here, and like this thing has been filled with gunge for a while. And so look, I found out if your little track on your paper cutter has gunge in it, just take this, look. It's another use for your take your pick tool. And like I said, this weekend, if you spend $100 on my website, you'll get one of these for free. They cost $10, and they're wonderful. So see, you can take all of the gunge, and the gunge is in here because we were cutting through, like we would put the adhesive on it and then cut our cupcake holders. So that takes it right out. The other thing you can do is just order new tracks for this. And if you have one of these that you've used forever, which my tracks probably have been here for a really long time, these pop out, and you can see mine is filled with tons of paper just because it gets used a lot. So those are disposable, and you just buy new ones. They're in the back of the catalog where you can buy the refills for your cutter. So then it's all nice and clean. And if you find that your paper cutter cuts fuzzy, it can be because there's all this fuzz in here, and so it dulls your blade faster, for one thing. And you know, this is a scoring blade, and then this is the cutting blade. So I'm going to put my bows down here. I think I'm out of so I'm going to put my bows up here so you can see them. You put it in half. This is the cutting one. Because the paper cutter should not have like little lint pieces. And I know some people think it's your cutter, but a lot of times it's picking up the lint and all of the paper that's just been cut 100 times, thousands of times. It's gathered in the little track down there. So I'm just going to trim this. I'll use this one since that's the one I'm going with. So it's just around the bows. So if you have little like fuzzies stuck to your thing after you're using the paper cutter, clean out your track, or get a new track, or get new blades, or both. It's one of those things kind of like snail refills. Sometimes you just have to buy the tools that you need so your cards look well. I know sometimes we just all want new stamps and new colors and new fun things, but sometimes you need the tools so all of your other things look good. And then I want this to be, see, I have extra leeway. I want it to be smaller than 4 5 1/4. So this part right here, obviously I didn't even stamp. So 5 1/4 is here. So I'll take that part off. Actually, I'm going to take a tiny bit more of it off so it goes into the white. There we go. And then I want the other side to be 4. And this is already into the white, so I'm going to do this. Here's my 4. So now we have a background. I'm done with my cutter. Get that out of the way because I have to make room for my big shot. This, I told you this had a lot of stuff on it. This is some mint macaron paper to mount it on. And this is very retro 50s Christmas colors. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this first so it can dry while I'm doing my big shot. This is the Frost White Shimmer paint. And this is one of the Stampin' Mist things. And I put a little bit of alcohol and a generous amount of the Frost White. And the reason I did a generous amount of this and a little bit of alcohol is I don't want this to get wet. So I want a lot of the mist to come out. And I did spray some of these and they bled. But I had lots to work with because it took me so many times to figure out the best way to stamp them. So don't do your bows. Take it from me, they'll bleed. But this also will make some of this bleed to fill those colors back in. And I do want to get the edge of my card so the whole thing's shimmery. Okay. And then I am going to take this for just a second. I need that though because it's my stamp, but I'll cut the other thing first. This will keep that from, usually I have a big block and I did have it here earlier. There it is. If you have one of the big stamp blocks, then you can lay that there and let that dry. And then it won't curl up on you. Okay, I'm gonna do my first sample you'll see in a second. I did with silver glimmer paper. This one I'm gonna do on the metallic paper, which is new in the catalog. So we'll have 2 different ones and we can see which one we like best. Then this is the word wishes out of the Merry Christmas to All bundle. And nothing like stamping, you know, I know you all do this, where you start out with a clean desk, and then everything gets all awkward. So I'm gonna stamp awkward like this. But it's gonna get cut out, so I just need one of these. And then these are the dies out of the Merry Christmas to All bundle. This is my magnetic plate. I'm gonna roll these through. And then use my tool for that. Doesn't need anything to help pop it out. This one, it might not even need anything either. But if you do, like the middles of these, the S and the H, the A's, they have middles that might need to be popped out. Pull these out. And my eye, I wanted to keep the middle of my eye, and I think I've just dropped it. I'll add that back before I take the picture and post it on my website so you can see it. See the middle of the S. But this is, you know, at my camp we lovingly refer to my paper piercer as the pokey thing. We know it's called the paper piercing tool, but you know, that doesn't sound as much fun as the pokey thing. But the tip of the take your pick tool is also a paper piercer. So pull this out. I've got those. Move this out of the way. And we're almost done. We just have to put this together. So you can see it kind of changes the color of the real red. Kind of gives it a 50s look, and it is shimmery. So you can see on the card itself, it left an outline of shimmer. So I'm going to take my snail, and I'm going to put the outline of where I need to mount that. And because it's right up against the edge, then the edges of this won't curl. Back on here. Now I don't only have beet juice, but I have shimmer on my beet juice. My hands are just really pretty today. I'm sure my nephew would think they were just beautiful. He thinks everything, but all of my nephews, they're so funny because my, you know, we did girls. I have one nephew that is my daughter's age. But all of the rest of the girls, my daughter and my daughter's generation of nephews and nieces, they were all girls. So all nieces, one nephew. And now we do boys. So the girls, you know, they all loved being in my office. But the boys, they love it just as much. So now I'm going to stick my bows on. We made a Captain America shield with my Big Shot and the silver glimmer paper. We made letters of his name. My oldest of the second generation of nephews. He likes all the ribbon for lassos. But yesterday we discovered that you can take a whole, I don't know what you would call it, a whole spool, a whole one of these of twine, and if you wind it all around everything in your office or downstairs, you can make an obstacle course, or you can pretend you are a burglar in an art museum and go underneath all of the, you know, the rays. So it's just a whole new way to see all of the products in your office when you were in here trapped in the afternoon with a boy. The girls, you know, they would play restaurant or take orders or make plays or, you know, actually use the stuff for what it was made to be used for, the boys see it a whole new way. But we have lots of lassos. We make lassos upon lassos upon lassos. That's a thing now. And oh, the beautiful lassos that Stampin' Up! Ribbon can make. We have such pretty lassos. So this is the silver, not silver, it's the pink. No, I don't even think it's pink. Oh, it's the rose metallic thread. I knew it wasn't pink. And I have just put it on the back of the wishes thing that I cut out from the Big Shot. And I have some snail. I'm just attaching it to the back of that. Because I don't want it to go over the whole card, but this will give some nice dimension to that. And the rose metallic with these colors is really pretty. Snip that off. And then I'm going to take glue dots. And I'm going to make sure that I sandwich a glue dot over the metallic twine. Oh, mercy, if the boys ever saw the metallic twine, they don't see it because I keep it a little bit higher than what they can see on my ribbon shelf. The things that could be done, I'm sure, with metallic twine. I put that there. I'm going to take a couple of the glue dots. And they fit on the back of this, but you have to kind of fold them in half. I could have used my Big Shot adhesive, but usually when I'm designing Christmas cards like this, I'm keeping in mind that some of you might be making them for multiple people. And because this word Christmas is long, and there would be a lot of waste, you would use a lot of money if you were going to make these for a lot of people. There would just be a lot of waste. And this is big enough that I didn't have any issue sticking these glue dots on here. Just fold them in half. It really just needs 3. And it will hold this on here nicely. And because of the dimension with the twine, it doesn't have to be flat on there. Then these are from the regular annual catalog, and they are faceted dots, and there's knit macaron in those. And I toyed with the idea of making the Christmas in the new black foil. And then you could use some of the black ones of the faceted dots, or mix and match with the macaron. So I'm going to add one of each of the sizes of these. And then I didn't do the inside of this card, and I don't know if we'll do this at camp or not, just simply because it's kind of tricky with the bows. But if we do, we always decorate the inside of the cards, and these 2 little holly berries, or holly leaves, they look so 50s vintage to me, but I wanted to be done because I knew this would take a little bit of time to show you guys. So here's this one, and this is with the silver metallic, and I do like that, but I think I do like this, the glimmer paper. I knew it would be hard to see in the video, but you'll be able to see it when I take pictures and put it on my website. So this is super cute. Uses the Stamparatus. If you don't have one, wait till October and try to win one in my giveaway. Super fun, super cute. Great way to practice with your Stamparatus. Great way to make your Christmas cards, because you can just sit down. You could have your Stamparatus already starting in October and just start whipping these out. And once you get enough of these done, you could start doing your background. You could then move all that out of the way and start doing your Christmas or your wishes. At some point, I'll show you how to use your Stamparatus as a Big Shot template, because you can use it to get these done quickly. You could get your wishes done all in one night if you were doing 50 cards easy, because there's a way that you use your Stamparatus to get your Big Shot things done quickly too. So there you go. This is my Facebook product of the week. So you'll want to make sure you go over to Facebook as well, because I will have some additional ways to use the Wishing You Well stamp set. But I hope you like it. I hope you like the buffalo check. I hope you like all of it. Some of my favorite things on this card. Have a great day. Bye.